Buenas tardes, un placer para mí.
It is a true pleasure for me to moderate this energy and local government panel. My name is Sebastián Latanzo from the National Directorate of Energy in Uruguay, and we have a top-level panel as we have had during this week. We have with us representatives of local governments from different municipalities of Uruguay, and also experts and representatives from the government, from different provinces, and also at the national level from other countries. I'm going to briefly introduce them, and the dynamic of this talk will be to ask each one of the participants a question that has to do with the efficiency measures and the strategic work that they have conducted for energy sector. We will see that we have different aspects that they have taken into consideration in their fields of work. And then we will be more prospective, sort of speak, because we're always working with management, with the here and now. But how do they project themselves or within their territories or within the territories of their influence, the different steps of the projects for their management or due to the different corporations that they may have at a local, regional, or national level. So I'm going to introduce Analia Larrañaga. She comes from the Department of 33. Marcelo Metedeira from the Township of Canelones. He's the General Pro-Secretariat. We're going to continue with Jorge Juvergia, Director of Energy from the province of Salta, Argentina. Carlos Alvarez, he's the Counselor of the Regulatory Topics from the Ministry of Energy in Colombia. And Rodrigo Barrera from the Sustainability Agency for Electricity Sustainability in Chile. So we're going to ask our first question. Then we're going to start from here. I'm going to give you the microphone. You have more microphones there. And the question, Carlos, that we were announcing is within your scope of work, thinking about local governments in the territory, which have been the policies or the actions within the framework of which plans have you worked, these energy topics and energy efficiency topics in particular. Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation to be part of this panel. Thank you also to my co-panelists, to all the assistants thank you for your cooperation. And thank you also for your hard work in order to improve the energy sector, which at the end of the day is going to translate into an improvement of the climate change. I would like to start by saying that the energy efficiency measures are one of the most cost-effective measures that you can implement in order to improve the energy and to improve the climate change at the local level, at the city level, and national level. For example, in Colombia, our energy efficiency measures have the potential to increment or increase between 1.6 and 2.2 compared to the best available technology. So this is aligned with lack of efficiencies that suppose a cost for our country around $6 million every year. So this invites us to rethink the measures that we have for energy efficiency. This must be a priority for our national governments, and we must articulate this with the local governments. For that, we need to optimize our energy resources. It creates markets. It improves the working conditions. It creates new jobs. And at the end of the day, it also creates a better environmental sustainability. So it is with this mentality that from Colombia we have worked with different initiatives at a national government level, which impact the local governments as well. And I would like to point out that, for example, in Colombia we have 32 departments or municipalities, and we have 1,104 municipalities. So the articulation within our territory is quite complex. I will show you some of the initiatives that we have had at a local level. For example, there is an initiative that is called Techo Solares, solar roofs, which was promoted by the national level within a framework of a program that is called Estallido Solar, which started a year ago with the current government. And this initiative has created benefits for 304 benefits in different households. But the idea is to move forward and to have a projection of 14,000 users. So this is a way to empower and decentralize. This is a way to empower the user and decentralize energy. We have also made progress in topics regarding electromobility as an important component for the region. In Colombia, this transportation sector is one of the less efficient sectors, consuming about 40% of the energy, 96% of which goes to liquid fuels. So this is an opportunity for us to develop further opportunities and support local governments to translate or reconvert our buses for public transportation so they become e-buses. We have a funding of 30% for these technologies for low and zero emissions, and this has contributed for Colombia to be positioned within the region as one of the countries that are leading this e-mobility along with Chile. These two countries have both implemented a lot of infrastructure in the e-mobility, specifically buses. We are moving forward now and advancing. In Bogota and Medellin, we want to have electronic taxis, replicating this technology and promoting within users the use of e-mobility. Thermal districts, this is another initiative that we have been making progress at a local level. Mainly within the public administrations, we are fostering from the cities in their administrations. We want for them to implement the thermal districts so we can make progress in this efficiency. So we also want to make progress in reconverting technological tools. We have generated programs for this technological reconversion, mainly in regions where there is an intensive use of technology. In Colombia, in the northern area of the country, where the climate is hotter and the temperature is about 5 degrees above the rest of the country, we are promoting this reconversion for technology for end users like air conditioning or refrigeration or cooling systems. We give them a feed for the equipment that they currently have, and we promote for them to buy a high-efficiency equipment. And just to finalize my comments, we also have tax incentives in this sense, promoting for companies at a regional level, for example, industries, for them to implement systems for a better management of energy or energy efficiencies by returning some of the VAT taxes or other fiscal compensations. And at the end of the day, this is a beneficial thing for companies at a local level. And it also has an impact on the emissions and the contribution to the goals that we have in the country. For example, facing the COP26, Colombia has committed itself to reduce its emissions to 51% by 2030. This is a huge challenge for us. Thank you for your answer. And now we're going to talk to Jorge, something that we're going to be talking about during this discussion. We were also talking about this during lunch. It's surprising to see that we have so many solutions and so many measures as territories, because he was telling us that in the province of Salta, at the same time, you may have a difference in temperature above 20 degrees. So it really depends on where you are at Salta. So, for example, can you share with us some of the experiences that you have had regarding the distributed solar located at public parks? these local experiences of this province that also has a relevant role in energy. But can you tell us about this from the standpoint of your local experience? Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for coming and joining us. Thank you, Olade, for the invitation. And answering your question, our province, as you said, is very broad, is very big. We are very long as a province. And there are some areas in the west that had over 100 meters. And then in other parts of our province, we have a huge difference. We are under the Tropic of Capricorn that divides a great portion of the province. So this gives us a huge diversity, and we need to find different solutions. But when we talk about these initiatives associated to energy efficiency, we're always looking for working in a coordinated way with the government and to work also with universities. So one of the projects that we were working with back in 2017 within a call for the energy efficiency, we started working with an efficient grid, and we created an intelligent electric grid, changing the infrastructure, the wiring for medium tension. We incorporated 15 transformers, and we also added 1,500 metering systems, so we would give any users the possibility to consult via web or mobile applications. They could see their own consumption. It was done back then. Another thing that we did was to work, and that project that I was talking about was conducted with University of Salta and with the local government with the support of ministry as well. We also work within another project that was Sol in Casa, Sol at home, you could say. We have a very good solar resource in the whole province as general. But we also have the need to make the most of this, even though the PV technology is very well promoted. We have the second biggest park in the country with 200 megas installed and another one that has 80 megas. But the technology and the cost of access for this PV energy for us is a bit restrictive in general terms at a domestic level. So we promoted a project that had the possibility of training the installers for water heating for boilers, home boilers. We were providing them the training and the certification through a local industrial institute at the University of Salta. So we have the training, we would register them, and the province started to facilitate the access to credit for the purchase of these kinds of technologies like the solar boilers and the repayment of credit that would enable us to continue to buy new equipment. As you know, in our country, we always have recurrent difficulties when it comes to the economy, so the installments for your repayments you never have enough money to continue paying your installments and to also be able to buy new equipment. So this is basically something associated to funding. But every time we take an action, we try to incorporate technology with the education of the end user, because otherwise, for these energy efficiency things, if you don't make for the end user to understand that the technological change is not the only thing, but the attitude, the change in attitude is also important in the long term to make this sustainable, you're working for nothing.
So Salta was one of the first ones to work in the law of balance. So we allow the users of the distributors, if they comply with a number of requirements and they were adapted to our reality. I'm saying this because we have 23 provinces in the country and only one has regulation regarding regulated electricity and peer-reviewed electricity installations. So when they go to Salta, they say if we do it, we control that. But taking that into consideration, we could produce a law with the distributor, the Secretariat of Regulation, the entity of regulators, the Council for Engineers, that actually see this and monitor this, so the users that comply with these requirements can connect this generation equipment, and they have a measuring device that is connected. And what they do with the generator and the grid, they consume everything through this traditional measurement device. It's not that we cannot have a bidirectional measuring device, but we understand that in the national accounts, it's more useful to have the data of the consumption of this address and not only the gross consumption of the home. So there were some particular details on this, and we have 1,000 megas of 1,000 kilowatts of installed power at different levels of users, municipalities, universities, and so on. And what are they doing? Actually, they're compensating the energy they produce with the energy they consume. But the idea, and this was another condition, is that this has to be in the same place. Salta has excellent places for generation, the idea of having an installation at home, and that you see that you're generating, and at the same time you are aware that if you save energy, turning off the light or doing everything you can to manage that, you can improve your bills. And this is one of the things we did, and we are working together with the idea of the UN project, so we can also have electrical buses and some paths in the provinces, in the province, and we have many actions that we are seeing at the same time, everything that relates to the technological adaptation and this identity we have as Salto inhabitants. Sometimes we don't pay attention and we do what we want to do. That's different from some other of the countries that are part of the table. Argentina is a federal country. You have a federal jurisdiction, but the local governments have the possibility of making some decisions, and sometimes we make some decisions that we discuss them with the country level, but we come to very interesting agreements. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Ahora le voy a...
And now we're going to give the floor to Analia. Analia is mayor of Villa Sara, that is in 33 department in Uruguay, and she wants, and I would like to tell you a little bit about this. The Direction of Energy of Uruguay decided to establish a program so that in all of the towns, the smallest towns and the biggest cities would have a program for energy efficiency together with the creativity in every place. Some towns did some things that were necessary but not so creative, but we want Elia to tell us a little bit about how within their program and their planning in the medium term of her municipality, how she implemented an energy policy and circular economy. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me today. I cannot talk very well today, but I wanted to be here. For me, it's very important to be here and share this with you. It was very ambitious as a plan, and I had the opportunity to be elected as a mayor in a little town that has 1,100 inhabitants called Villa Sara. It is in the 33 department, and we have something that is interesting. We are very near the capital city. We are one bridge away, maybe 5 kilometers from the downtown, so that is for you to know where we're located. And one of the guidelines and action lines that we had as a municipality, and I'm going to tell you why this was, is to aim towards the environment. We didn't have anywhere to work with, and 8 months were passed, and people knew that we were getting our salary, but we were not working. And my father and myself told ourselves that we needed to clean Villa Sara and improve things, so people see we're starting to work. So we started with a project called Villasara Recycles. What we do is we gather plastic bottles not only from Villasara, but we also took into consideration the whole department of 33. To gather those bottles, we would drive our own vehicles or bikes or motorbikes as well. And that way we started to generate work. This is not something minor to mention. Mostly for women who were heads of homes in Villasara, and this was through gathering of waste. And we get to know about a project from the Ministry of Industry, because I have worked before with the private sector. I didn't know about this. I didn't know there were some projects where we could get money from. And nowadays, when I get to know about this, I am the first one to go and see the requirements. And they say, stop, another town needs to have the opportunity too. But well, we ask about the guidelines, how much money the Ministry of Industry would have for their project, and we wanted to have 100%, of course. They were around $18,000. Always seeing the needs of our town, and this is a very vulnerable population. And we have a small clinic, we have a school with a CAIF center, and this is an institution where children go and study from 0 to 3 before going to formal school. Parents who have to work and don't have a place to leave their children, they leave them this care system. And we started to give to this CAIF a community center as well. We have been fostering this center from day zero. We have give them equipment, and we also have a center where kids also go and have lunch on Tuesday and Thursday. We give them warm food in winter. It was very expensive. We got the food, of course, to do that in collaboration with many institutions, with private sectors as well, and we needed gas as well because we needed that to cook, and we thought a lot about that. Another problem we have is that regarding recollection of waste, this is done through the municipality. They collect the containers, and we did a short research on how much organic matter goes to the containers and the smell and stink it produces, the stench. And we told the industry, the Ministry of Industry, for a vehicle that would allow us to gather all of the plastic waste. This is a project for women. And at the same time, we wanted to motivate the population so they wouldn't leave the plastic waste in the container, but we created green spots in every street. This was done with metallic materials, and we tried to use everything we had. We used to work with wood. My brother used to work in a wood workshop, and people just collaborated with us. People who would bring just old cans of salt to help us, and we asked the neighbors on the radio, but also personally, and we told them we would begin with a project, and we would gather all of the organic matter from the kitchen. They shouldn't put everything there in a container. They just leave them there, and once a day we would go and gather everything in this electric vehicle. And in Villasara, we would have a biodigester. This was loaded with the organic waste, and we would generate gas for the CAIF and the community center. And we asked CAIF how much gas they would consume, so that when we would go and talk with the Ministry of Industry, and we had many Q&A sessions, we had to know everything so we could present the project. CAIF was on that verge as well. They agreed, and the Ministry of Industry gave us that money to be able to buy this biodigester, the electric vehicle. We talked with Galofera company, that is in Villa Sara. This is a big company that generates energy through the shell of rice, and they would give us a place to load this vehicle. That's okay, Dalia. Thank you for the experience. It would be good if you can tell us how many kilograms of matter you're using and also the level of gas you're saving. Nowadays, with what we're gathering, collecting in Villasara, we generate gas for both institutions in a non-stop schedule for 6 hours. Not only we cook with that, but we eliminated the water boilers we used to have, and this is done through biogas. In Villasana, nonetheless, we sometimes will have blackouts, so
we have a generator which generates energy with 220 watts through biogas. This seems very simple, but this was done through a learning process and making mistakes until we were able to strike the right balance. We received a lot of support. We have support from neighbors. Other neighbors would complain and said that this was going to explode and the whole cave was going to blow up. But we conducted a talk and we explained that it was just a bag full of gas, and if it were to explode, it would only be released to the atmosphere, not harming anyone. So if you don't refuel it, it's not going to increase its pressure. It's more risky to have your gas when you ignite your oven and you're using gas. That is more dangerous, actually. We were able to cook, as I said. We had a lot of successful stories in other institutions. This is a goal that we have set for ourselves for other places to have this biodigester. And the traffic inspection was done actually with the poop of livestock. We were able to generate biogas. We have another neighbor at La Calera, in a very artisan way. He's not buying gas anymore, and he's trying to invent and trying to see how he could be able to generate energy through the biodigester in order not to consume electrical energy anymore. And this is something that is so important because we are able to show this at rural schools and we can let them know what we're doing. We are promoting these activities, motivating them to include them, because sometimes they say, okay, but how long is it going to be for you in order to have a yield, a return on this? Of course, the ministry won't be giving out money for us to conduct experiments, but now, 2 years after that, since we are saving in gas, we are in conditions to say that the Ministry of Industry with that biodigester has already have its full return. And this is something that it has to continue throughout time. Because talking with other mayors, they have said, oh, but the project didn't work for us. Yes, it can happen, but we have to learn from each other's experiences. So we have taken, our technicians are available to help. And actually, the Ministry of Industry and Energy and Mining in Uruguay helps you. I was knocking many doors and I received support. So the ministry was really a huge support. And I have nothing but words of appreciation for their support. Okay, Marcelo, we would like to ask you, because you work in a territory that is very, very different, is the second biggest or larger department in the country, right, with a huge metropolitan area. We know that Marcelo comes from the transportation sector, so he has it printed in his DNA. He's going to share with us the different projects that they have in Canelones. And within your very vast municipality that you have agriculture, you have touristic areas, please share with us what are you doing also in Canelones with this leg placed in energy efficiency. Thank you for your invitation. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. Sebastian was introducing the department in a very good way. We have 3 different tiers of government in Uruguay: national, local, and municipal, like in the case of the mayor. In the case of Canelones, we have 30 municipalities. The whole department has municipalities, and within the next government period, we will have another one joining, and it has a dispersion in terms of production. We have a logistic hub, a touristic area, the milk production area going to the north, the production of poultry, agriculture activities. So Canelones is very diverse, and they say that Canelones is actually a country within a country. And if you take a look at the routes that take you to the port of Montevideo, except for Route 1, the rest of the routes cross Canelones. So this speaks of a complexity in terms of mobility, which poses a challenge. And of course, there are several situations for us to analyze. Just to briefly bring some of the examples, we have been working with public lighting. We started with 9,000 lights, and now we're working with 70,000 lights, and the idea is for 70% of the plants would have public lighting, installing LED lights. And along with that, we have changed mercury and sodium lights, so we could replace mercury lights, because we're able to incorporate certain technology that, for example, in the area of Las Brujas, where we have a basin that was very impacted because of the recent drought, the idea is for the light to be regulated in such a way that it can protect the environment, that the lightning contamination or pollution enable you to observe, to take a look at the sky in a different way. And these are things that we're able to carry on forward because of the work that we have been conducted related to these LED lights. The baby footballs, soccer clubs. We have a lot of kids playing soccer in Uruguay, and these soccer fields are illuminated with these lights, with LED lights. We all have other polysport places, and we started with an objective of almost 50,000 LED lights, but then this was extended with new challenges. So the objective continues to walk away from you, and you have to sort of chase it. But we are looking through the glass of public lighting. And when it comes to the management of the department, out of the 17,000 tons of potentially recycled waste that we generate, we recycle 30%, when at a national level the average is around 5%. And to do this, we have conducted a program that involves containers. So instead of putting your bag outside of your house, now we have a container. Each household receives a double container, which enables you the possibility of recycling your waste. So it is important for people to understand and to start classifying their waste. And it's important to mention this because we also have families who make a living out of this classification. So we're reaching 140,000 households that are going to be receiving these containers and a compost container. And we also have trucks who pick up the waste. The idea is to have the whole fleet being electric. We have right now 7. The idea is to have up to 13 to start with. And we also work with the Mercosities. We were representing Mercosities in Panama during the climate week in for Latin America and the Caribbean, where we worked together with the drafting of documents facing COP28, where we have a lot of incidents. And when it comes to this joint work with the national government, we have been working with UTE, and I will leave buses for the last part. So we have been working with UTE with an arrangement that we have at a national level with Canelones.
Instalar estaciones.
So we can install charging stations for electronic vehicles in different parts of the area. In the case of Canelones, we own 2, which also incorporate the load for bikes and motorbikes. And sometimes you may ask yourselves, what do you need a loading station for bikes if you can do that at home? The thing is that we are in a stage where we need to accompany as a government to have infrastructure to make sure that people, if they need to, they have a place to resource to. So it may be silly, but it is not. So this is something that we have also been working with, along with UTE and the national government. And regarding buses, we're working with different bus terminals. So we are sort of fighting for them to invest in having charging places for e-buses, because it's the same logic as I said before. If you're a transportation company, you may have your own charging station, but to have a backup that gives you ease of mind, as a state policy, we understand that this is something that we need to include.
With also the Acceleration Lab, we did an exercise on sustainable mobility with the Tu Calle, your street project, so to say. Also with the society in general, with the study centers, when we had the municipality of Ciudad de la Costa. This is the largest municipality of the country. We work with mobility, with signing on the street, trying to integrate society in this work. And finally, something that we have been working on effectively is the electrical buses. We haven't worked directly with that, but the National Energy Direction has been working with CAPS, and we have been working with the buses so we can also go along this process. I'm going to go into further detail later, but because of the composition of Canelones, we have 136 populated centers and a lot of rural areas. So we have movement of people that normally, we're talking about Las Piedras and Ciudad de la Costa, 80,000 people, more than 100,000. So we need to bring people to the clinic, local clinic, go to the downtown to run errands, and we have a financial movement, and that is what we are working with. So we can go along with the processes that are being carried out by the national government and the state governments as well. Also generating a change in the buses so they can be electrical. That is what I wanted to say, Sebastián. Thank you very much, Marcelo. Rodrigo, we have been discussing, and it's not by chance that you're the last one in this first round of questions. Rodrigo, you have a great experience at a working level regarding the territories, and you see many realities, and you see them all together at work. Could you please tell us, of course, focusing in Chile in this first question, what have been your successful experiences both in planning and in execution of different energy and efficiency activities in territories? And if we can also hear from you from some towns of different sizes, it would be also very enriching for this session. Well, I'm very happy to be here with you. to learn from you every time we are in these kind of sessions and events. We also gather the experiences of different realities, and this is very nurturing. In that sense, I would like to begin with a reflection. I believe that during these 2 days in this Energy Week, a concept that has always been there, and I believe that is in all of our working situations. We hear that always as global challenge, that we need to go towards a new development model and how we relate to energy. This energy transition might might repeat the same errors we have done before in a context of climate crisis, and I believe that we can do so we can reach a new model of development regarding energy transition is to do this with people and without hiding anything. We need to decentralize the administration of power to spaces of towns and smaller governments. And I believe this is something we need to do as stakeholders in a country. The ministries and national agencies, the municipalities, the private sector also plays a role, so that this energy transition plays an important role, and we need to know what their problems are. And in this sense, I see that the local management has a range of opportunities that is very big, and we have heard that before in electrical mobility. Also, energy efficiency of infrastructures and new technology that allows us to save. And we also strengthen capacities of citizens so they can have a better relation with the use of energy, distribute the energy resources through distribution, solar panels, and also we are not only consumers, but we produce as well. The electromobility can also bring us to a new management model. All of us at home can have a battery through the electrical car in the future, and all of that appears as opportunities in our new possibilities to keep on working. The cogeneration, bioenergy with organic residues and waste, and we can talk about how the energy resource that is so important for life can also generate social value. And regarding our learning process and fostering the energy process, here we have Gabriela Lopez. She coordinates the program at national level as well. We have 18 municipalities. This is the third level of government in Chile that we joined this program, and we have around 77 of these 117. They already have their local energy strategy. This is a valuable instrument to analyze the need Analia was talking about. The municipalities and the smallest towns already are facing the challenges, and we need to identify all of the needs strategically. And that is very relevant to be able to direct the development in a coherent way and not just as assistance. And we see this as well, how revolutionizing are all of these topics. A couple of years ago, electromobility was very trendy. Now it's green hydrogen. So we need to plan, and it needs to be coexistent with a long-run vision, so we as local governments can also take that into consideration and direct that work. Besides that, the local strategy, we have also continued with the implementation with the private and public cooperation with financing, and we have created a generation of around $4.5 million, and 60% of those resources have come as well. And we have also generated this locally. It's not only something that is from the mayor, but this is also a working plan, is oriented to strategy, and this is what we want to do. This is what we're doing. In the Chilean case, we have 32 municipalities that has a seal recognizing their management, and it shows the citizens what they have been doing. And these 32 municipalities have this seal of energy, showing and emphasizing that it's not only planning this strategy in the long run, but also taking into consideration everything that the municipality has been doing and involving citizens. And we have also strengthened the capacities of the public workers because we need to have the installed capacities in the global and local governments. More than 70 have a new diploma that they completed with different universities. This is, or we already have a fourth version of it. We need them to be professionals with technical abilities. And Alia has commented how complicated it is to have professionals who have the skills. Everybody needs to keep on learning because we evolve in all of the techniques. So, in that sense, I would like to share 4 big steps we have taken that are relevant. The first one is to have a diagnosis of the territory, to see what are the weaknesses, opportunities, and everything that is going on. In that term, we need to then plan on a strategic way in the long run that goes beyond the administrations. And we understand that we have specific terms, and we need to go beyond that, beyond the election of every period. And of course, every mayor will go towards that, and everybody needs to be heard. But with this strategic plan, we need to go beyond all of the cycles that are shorter regarding chosen authorities. And as a third thing, we want to look for the new places of cooperation through mechanisms that can also be carried out. Also, for example, with solar panels, crowdfunding, or direct financing that can be done with a study. And also trying to strengthen all of the capacities of the municipalities so that is kept in time. Central governments and the agencies and municipalities are also organizations that do not have the ability to attend and serve all of the municipalities or towns that are within a region. And that is a reason why they need to develop their own projects, and that is relevant. In order to answer this question from Sebastian, we have carried out more than 60 projects that have generated this initiative. In one of the cases has been in Pillalonel in Chile. We have carried out our infrastructure energetic efficiency project where we have solar pumps so we could have heated water, different lighting, bulbs. More than $40,000 have been invested every year. And all of these resources might be directed to other local needs. On the other hand, in another town called Pichiré, it is a very rural one in O'Higgins region. This is southern from the metropolitan region. We have a cooperation that belongs to the small farmers as well. More than 400 beneficiaries will use solar panels, and they are benefiting from self-generation on a community level. That is, they are benefiting as a community, members of the cooperative, but also schools, the family health centers from these towns are also sharing the benefits of the generation that is being produced. Also, we have a small community called Navidad, and it's like Atlantida here in Uruguay. In summer, it receives many people because of tourism, but we could then solve the complexity of this micromobility. So in summer, it's full of people, cars, people coming from all of parts of the country. We have a lot of traffic jams, and we developed everything, a project with electrical bikes where also neighbors could mobilize and people who would go in summer. Beyond that, we also had a project with a high level of Mapuche indigenous population, and it showed us a lot about technological innovation because we improved the isolation of Farruca. This is a traditional place where the Nueva Villache community carries out their events with ancestral technology. They define how they would have their isolation with straw and some other ancestral practices from the community. Also telling us that the ancestral knowledge can go hand in hand with energy efficiency. And this created a synergy. These are some projects from the many we have introduced in our country that we can also share, and we can share some more when we continue speaking. Thank you, Rodrigo.
Thank you. It was very interesting to listen to your presentation because you share not only what happens in your local government, but also from the Mapuche community. Now let's talk about the future, the planning ahead of us, what we would like to do. There are shorter and longer futures. That is up to you to tell us about. And I would like to talk with Carlos. What do we have? What are we thinking about, strategically speaking? Where are we heading? Thinking about future leads us to also think of a lot of challenges and opportunities. So this government, which started in November, but last year, has a policy of decentralization, of empowering the user, for the user to be participant in this management of energy. And one of these initiatives is the one called energy communities, comunidades energéticas. And this is an initiative that Chile has also implemented for some time now, and Rodrigo was sharing with us their experience. But I think that there is a difference in which we are focusing on the community energy, not only in the municipalities, but to empower users for them to manage their energy. So this is something that we've been working with during the year, identifying the regulatory obstacles, because nowadays a community, I am not able to share my energy with my neighbors, for example, due to the current regulations. So we are assessing these obstacles, these barriers, how we can overcome these regulatory schemes. To do so, we're implementing something that we are talking somewhat. That is that within an initiative, I can test that initiative and skip the regulation. And at the end, I am able to evaluate the results, whether they are beneficial or not. And therefore, we could propose a modification for the existing regulations. So within this context, we are assessing how these energy communities can share energy, can register themselves. So the idea is for neighbors to empower themselves through their own initiatives, because first you need to start with a diagnosis in order to propose solutions. And the best answers may come and actually come from the community itself, because they are the ones who know which obstacles they need to overcome, given the different characteristics of the projects. So it's different when you're talking about solar panels, e-mobility, gas. So this is where the energy communities come into play. And this is where we see some of these energy drivers, in order to replicate these solutions throughout the rest of the communities. So the idea is for them to have the capacity and the training to design and implement these solutions, taking into account the level of knowledge that the communities have, and also to provide those who are less favored to have access to these resources, those who need to be accompanied. Again, provide training, orientation to the end user, so they can know how to use the energy. And this is where another scheme enters into play, enabling all these community energy. And this has to do with the deployment of this intelligent metering system, as Jorge mentioned. When we talk about intelligent metering, we need to take into account this advanced metering system so the user is able to know how they are consuming their energy. For their communities to know how much energy is being generated in a PV system and how much they are consuming from the grid. That way, they would be able to opt among different options of energy consumption in order to improve their consumption. And here we have the services sector, the industry coming into play, that even though, so if I am able to provide further knowledge, they have more access to this information, they would be able to make better decisions to improve their energy efficiency consumption. And talking about industry, the idea is to promote for industries to become more aware in these management systems for energy, implementing these technologies to ensure a better consumption throughout their industrial processes, for them to be able to measure this and for them to be able to implement these energy efficiency measures. And this goes hand in hand with the implementation and the support of local governments, because at the end of the day, these are communities and industries that we need for them to make these implementations, but the municipalities are the stakeholders who need to promote these measures. We will also make progress when we talk about industrialization. We don't want to be importers, just importers of technology for PV technology and e-mobility. In these two sectors, we would like to have a reindustrialization approach. We would like for many companies to focus on producing locally instead of importing. So we see within solar energy and e-mobility very interesting opportunities to promote a local industry. And at the end of the day, this will enable for us to create markets at a local government, to create more opportunities, generate more job opportunities as well, and to become more competitive. This industrialization process will also impact on having costs that are going to be more efficient. So from the national government, we need to create a favorable environment regarding policies and clear regulations that can be articulated with the local governments. As Jorge said, you need to articulate and not to resell, because sometimes he's not compliant with everything that the government says. You need to articulate these policies to be able to implement them at a local level, at least in a successful manner. So for local governments, this is very important because they are the ones who are able to identify the opportunities that they need. And of course, they are the experts on the territory. So they can propose this at a national level. And the national government, as Rodrigo mentioned in his last implementation item, we need resources. So the national government needs to manage resources also at an international level to deploy measures at a local level. And as I say, to deploy everything that has to do with projects and generate incentives. I think that it is very important for these policies to accompany these incentive programs so users can have access to benefits and we can create more awareness and empower users.
Muchas gracias. Y bueno, fue muy interesante porque barriste todo.
Thank you so much. It was very interesting because you cover the whole span of possibilities. So you almost answer everything. Jorge from Salta, La Linda, with everything you have done so far, how do you project yourselves? As I said, we are rebels, but we understand that regulation is important. we released an instruction some years ago that had to do with how to measure energy at a household level. And one of the things that we did, and we're trying to make progress, is at Salta, we're trying to improve our metering systems, and we have metering systems that are new in the region of Puno, El Chaco. So we are trying to install this also in different residents using these gadgets and the methodology that we are being proposed. We're trying to apply this to the rest of the province. When it comes to e-mobility, I think that I already mentioned, along with the UN, within the e-mobility project, we're trying to incorporate the technology in the transportation routes for the public service, not only within the capital, but also trying to respond to the demand of mobility, measuring amount of kilometers and passengers, but also rethinking the structure and the infrastructure and what is the regulatory adjustments that we need to have in place in our regulatory framework. So if I am the director of the energy in the province, this is one of the biggest challenges that we have. So if you're going to install a charging station and you need to connect these 6 buses to be loading at the same time because you need them available, then the management of energy of the whole system is something that has to be in the head, top thinking. We have to be thinking about that as suppliers, and we have to promote this measure, but it has to be implemented in the right way. We're also working with the exchange of experiences in order to learn and reduce the learning curve and the time that it would take for us to learn and implement a measure. But we understand that even though there are measures that we can implement in some regions, we need to adjust this technology. In some other areas, if you want to bring a measure, then maybe you cannot replicate it because to be successful, you will need to readjust it. So many times this requires the articulation with different stakeholders in the society, with the academy, the regulators, the operators of the different systems. And this articulation necessarily comes from, at least in our province, from our secretariat. So you are the one who have the possibility to talk with the stakeholders. If you're not able to bring them together around the table, like Uruguay did with the law of labeling for energy efficiency, this had the support with professionals, with different municipalities, so they started creating these regulatory bodies to identify these topics. So as I said, I think that the biggest challenge would be to make sure that we understand that energy efficiency doesn't have to do only with the technological change, but you also need to change your attitude.
And this helps you to change, for example, a light bulb for a light bulb, and that of course consumes less. But if you just leave your classroom and you leave the lights on, and if you don't think you're spending much, then you need to also change your attitude. So this, in the long run, can be effective. Thank you very much. This is something to be set in stone. And this is something we need to commit at national level with the workers and the citizens. Analia, I know you cannot talk, but please try to do so. I would ask you, what does the Ministry of Industry, you can offer me so I can project my ideas in terms of money? And well, we're always there. We're always there looking for opportunities. I'm a mayor for the first time. This is a new municipality, and we have many needs. We have a very close contact with the population. We live there, and we know what the needs are. My father tells me, you know that in this street there is a problem with the asphalt. I go every day, wake up at 4 a.m. and I go through the whole town. I know where there's a problem with the asphalt, where there's a lack of light. And one of the things that people were telling us, I don't want them to tell me that in the end of my administration, is that in every block there should be illumination, lighting. There is a place where there is no lighting, no public lighting, and we need to keep on working on that next year before our administration ends. And we have a square that we generated for the community. So we are a small community, we know each other, and we know many of the needs that families have. And we said we have to create a square. We have the most beautiful square in 33. And I'm telling you that, I'm very proud. There is no lighting in that square yet, but we built some toilets, some restrooms that are always open. They are great. We have grills, we have tables. You can go and grill there with your family. You can play ping pong there. And not only the kids from Villa Sara or in 33 come here, but they have also created teams. They have come and they have had tournaments in Montevideo and they have won. We have a field, a court for multi-purposes. When a company sees me enter, they ask me what I want. We received many bags of cement to create a square. We created 2 locker rooms. People would just play there in the square. And we have achieved much. I work there in my own business. And the square is always full of people. So we achieved our goal. What do we need? We put lighting in the court, but we also want to have lighting in the square. And we are going to wait for the coming year with the Ministry of Industry, or we're going to see how we get the money. But we want to be in every block, and we want to have LED lighting. And we're going to change everything that is old in Villa Sara. A great part of the village has lighting, but we also have a community center, as I said. We invite the population to come there, and I can remember the time of my grandparents, and this has have results. We call the neighbors and we have a lottery and we have prizes. Everyone lives with a prize. We eat torta fritas and we drink chocolate and we have many neighbors. And they collaborate with us voluntarily. And in front of that community center, we had a small library, but we improved it and we have a study room. We have computers. We work from 8 to 8. We have 12 hours functioning there. We have 12 workers in the town hall and 2 of them are working there. People would study only the elementary school, and if they wanted to go to high school, they would have to go to 33. So that is complicated. And we also had support teachers. They have physics, chemistry, English, and all of the subjects where they have problems. And last year, all of the kids passed with flying colors. So what do we need? We need to have a cooling system because summer is very hot. Some people would come from other towns so they could learn for exams. And winter it's very cold, so we need a heater in the community center, and in the library we have there, we need some heater in winter. But well, that's what I can do because after that my administration is going to be over. Of course we need way more. But we are going to get in touch with the governor because I heard that we could have an electrical bus. This is not a problem beyond what we have. people come from Villa Sara to 33. They begin studying at 7:15. If the bus doesn't go there, they go to my house where I work, and they go there, and I know what's going on. I call my brother and I tell them to bring the kids to high school. Sometimes a neighbor is in the hospital and we need to help him. I was traveling and one lady told me, well, the bus hasn't come and I need this to come. And this is a person that has very few resources. I have a family that I'm always there with them, and I call my father and I ask him to go and pick this neighbor. And this is another problem we need to solve. So we need to contact the state government. We have a vehicle, but it's not totally efficient. It's not electrical. It's not 100% efficient, and it's functioning. So we also will need to solve that. That is what I can say. Of course, I can tell you way more, but just with the collaboration of ministry, it's enough. Thank you, Analia. In our defense, Analia has a project that is being assessed for $10,000 or $12,000 for everything she says. So we are taking that into consideration. Marcelo, you told us about the bus. You said in the last one I'm gonna speak more, but you also talked about the charging station, and you talked about the more important things that you're doing right now. So tell me about that. Charging station and buses. What do you think about that? I can leave you with two reflections that will allow me to speak further. The first one, as Analia told us, she was telling us many things, and that happens to us. Especially we go to some activities with UNEP, and they tell us, okay, bring something new. And what is new? What is something with innovation? Something that could be an innovation for Analia could be something old for me. Something that could be old for me, maybe in Chile soft. So what do I mean by this? We need to, in spite of the fact of what we have, we need to keep on pushing. Sometimes we need to analyze that there's an option that we don't have, that is not doing. Sometimes I feel ashamed of many places, but does this belong to us? If this is my need, I need to keep on working. And this is valid in every sense. On the other hand, Rodrigo was telling us something, and I think this applies as well. These are the policies at national level, at country level, beyond the administrations. And we have a change of the energy mix in Uruguay that continued because we have a perspective. It makes us do this. We can have there exactly how it works, change what we think it should be changed, but we advance. And in effect, we have this continuity with a public policy that needs to go beyond this administrations. We can discuss about salary and housing and everything, but I believe we cannot make everything political. So once again, for me, it's very strong that we keep this as a public policy. In that sense, there is a mixture of scalability and permanence. And I was telling you that Canelones has its details, system, forms, selling many tickets. We sell one bus ticket every kilometer. And these are 52 pesos. This is a little bit more than $1 every kilometer. So it's a lot. If the government doesn't help that and follows up, the national government also needs to subsidize us. In this case, the state government that also carried out a trust of $2 million, so the transportation companies that belong to families, that is, for example, the father and the sons, one of them drives and one of them is an engineer and one of them is a mechanic, and at least that helps in my state, in my department. And we created this fund that would allow companies, transportation companies, to have the help from the state or the department government plus the national government with the subsidies to carry forward this change in the vehicles, because there are companies in the department that maybe buying a bus from 2005 is an effort, is so big as buying a brand new car. So people are going to have this service with this brand new car, with air conditioners. So that is what I'm trying to do. We have a company that, because of the places and because of the short distances, and then we have the capacities, and they already bought their 6th electrical car. We have this electrical vehicle as well.
Have been working. In fact, they had a nice gesture to incorporate a permanent secretariat who has been able to help us with this. It's going to be 15 buses, but if we are to escalate this, it's 15 buses out of 169. So Montevideo, with all the good things that it has, only has 2% of e-vehicles. So this is why I'm saying, okay, we have to insist and continue working as a public policy to transcend this, to put this into a better perspective. These are the biggest challenges regarding the charging stations. Again, we have the national and subnational level and ask, okay, Ute, what do you have? Chargers. What do we have? Infrastructure. Okay, let's work together. Let's break these obstacles together. Or, as I said, Ute, we need chargers for the terminal to make sure that our users have a confidence or they will have them whatever they need. So these are part of the challenges in this area that has to do with the change of the energy mix, the environmental caring part that, of course, had to do with the best administration we can give to our resources. But I just wanted to share with you my thoughts. I'm stubborn. I like to push things forward, but the perspective for public policies has to be extended. It has to go beyond the government. We have to be brave and take these steps, because this is what each one of us is bringing to the table. And this is going to lead to better results. Thank you, Marcelo. In 15 days, we will have Subite Buses to be ready, so you can present it in the United States for local governments that are doing worse compared to Canadians. It is not possible for them to access this. So this is why we salute this kind of instances, to exchange knowledge. Okay, we can continue another day with this conversation, with these mobility things. Rodrigo, you have been the leaders in this energy at a subnational level for these 3 tiers, and you have shared with us everything that you have done. You have shared with us examples of different scales, and you were precursors, so each one within their own scale. They think that you are very well advanced, but what do you think the future brings? In which direction are you walking? How can we shorten this learning curve that Jorge was mentioning earlier on within this incorporation that Carlos was also mentioning? Thank you again, because it's very interesting to hear you all. We all have something to share regarding the future. In my perception, I think that we are seeing a humanitarian crisis, and we are on the edge of changing eras. These changing eras have to go from the individual to the collective. That's where we're heading, the collective, the community, the cooperation. So overcome obstacles of benefits that could be fruitful for me, and start talking about how we can all benefit from each other. We have lived so far we have lived a life that is so disconnected from nature. We are seeing the results of that life, right? Immigration, wars, climate crisis. So this is where I would stress my input in the community, in the collective part. Beyond this, in particular, we are focusing our attention in this, the local experiences to be able to be shared, to cooperate among communities, so we can put this at the service of others, and others can make progress in a faster way, providing more concrete solutions to their communities. We are at the stage of finalizing a cooperation project with Uruguay and providing support to 2 municipalities in Chile and 2 municipalities in Uruguay, La Polona and Atlántida. And we have also cooperated these incentives with other projects, and we hope that very soon we will be able to cooperate with Analia. We really want to help SAR as well. We are cooperating also with Argentina, with Euroclima. We have learned a lot from them. We are also cooperating with Uruguay and Colombia through the National Network of Energy. And we think that this is an instant for cooperation and dialogue in order to share all these experiences in the day-to-day experience that we have. And this is an initiative that we are leading along with the MIEM, the Ministry of Industry, Energy and Mining from Uruguay. And we have also received a lot of support from a European entity that has a vast experience in this field. So we would like to invite you all to become acquainted with this initiative in our website. We are here to help you to promote these initiatives and to see how you can also integrate yourselves and your work in what we are doing. In terms of energy, I think that cooperating in very concrete aspects for the future of energy will be digital for sure, so we need to be able to cooperate in order to digitalize our services so we can reduce emissions in a more intelligent way, to reduce our consumption, to redistribute energy, to redistribute the resources so everyone can have a more democratic access to it. And again, as we said, decentralized energy. We were talking about the significant roles at of subnational governments, and again, to strengthen the different aspects of different countries and how we can learn from each other, as we have already said. Thank you so much. I'm going to open up for a very brief Q&A session. If you have any comments or if you have any questions, you can raise your hand. We would have a microphone. In this case, just welcome, just thank you all. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for your willingness to share with us the challenges and also your success stories and how you were able to solve these challenges with the tools that you have available, sometimes with a lack of coordination, despite the lack of coordination, with a lag in the most territorial part. Topics, energy topics, sometimes we talk about huge infrastructure, big tension lines, but it's important to make sure that we have a place where we can gather all this information, and it's important for us to know how we can, someone maybe needs to reindustrialize a part of their economy or to solve maybe more basic issues, how to transport students on time to their universities or institutes. So thank you again. It was a true pleasure and an honor to share with you this panel.